Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Enemy here, bringing you my review for Attack on Titan Season 3, Episode 15. And yeah, I pretty much know, I know, guys, I'm kind of late on this review, but it was Mother's Day, so I was basically I was celebrating I was basically with pretty much my parents. Like, we just kind of, we ordered to skip the dishes and whatnot, so I was with them, so. But, yeah. With that said, like I said, let's get into this review. Attack on Titan Season 3, Episode 15. So, the episode starts off with a flashback to Season 1, where Eren was plugging up the hole in Trost. But this time, it was from the perspective of basically Reiner and Prince Bertolt. And it's through this perspective we learn that of course, that Reiner and Bertolt were pretty much the ones responsible for Marco's death. Which, at this point in the story, is not really a huge, shocking reveal. But it still pretty much is tragic. It still is tragic, and the real tragedy here, and what makes Marco's death, and what makes this reveal of Marco's death especially tragic is the circumstances of his death, and how, like, when you pretty much when you look at the whole situation of what of pretty much what of pretty much pretty much why Marco was killed, it really boils down to a simple fact that Marco was basically in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, I'm not even joking with you. I'm being dead serious. If you look at it, if you look at it. If you look at the whole situation, that there's really no other reason for him to die. Like, I mean, obviously he kind of clued into to I guess you could say that the other reason is that he clued into Reiner and Bertolt's, like, identities, but even then, even then, like, when it comes to Marco having figured out Reiner and Bertolt's identities, it kind of plays into the wrong place, wrong time situation. Like, he was just like Marco. He was, of course, just he just accidentally stumbled into that situation. Like, he had no intention of even discovering anything at that point, but he pretty much did, and so Reiner and Bertolt, they pretty much saw absolutely no other choice but in fact to kill him. So yeah, it's really tragic. It really is. Like Marco, he might have been living on for, like, a brief moment in the series, but he was, of course, he was definitely one of the favorites, and just to see him go out like that, just in a way that he didn't intend to die that day, is like, oh man, it's tragic. It really is. But yeah, it's like, damn, Marco. His pretty much luck was he just had the most severe case of bad luck in that moment. It really is. Um, and and actually, on a storytelling level, I really like how in this one flashback also confirms a lot of plot points and details that were kind of left a little ambiguous in Season 1. Like, again, with where we are now, we can pretty much looking back on a lot of this, you can pretty much, it's easy to kind of, it's easy to see a couple little hints here and there that of what happened. But yeah, with this flashback, a lot of those ambiguous moments are from Season 1 are given a lot more context behind them as well. Just with the smaller stuff too, like with basically learning how pretty much and how Annie even got a hold of Marco's gear and whatnot. Just yeah, with this episode, it just brought a whole lot of context to pretty much a lot of the earlier events of Season 1 for sure. Um, and 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 of course, in that flashback as well, we pretty much see Reiner pretty much like having a spastic attack, and just ranting and raving and just seeing how desperate he was in order to keep their secret in that flashback. And and with Reiner's rant in this episode, and with Reiner, the thing about Reiner's rant in this episode is it's one of those where we obviously need to take a little bit of caution with basically what he says is truth and what he says is lies, because he was desperate in that moment. But the thing about Reiner's rant in this episode is that whether intent is that it showed that Reiner was kind of unintentionally. He was hitting us with definitely a lot of plot points in that one rant, and the one thing I think that we can definitely take away from basically Reiner from how desperate that was Reiner like yelling and ranting out in this episode, is that he might have given away a little bit of what we can expect from pretty much the secret reveal of what's in the basement, like because the way he was talking about like things like because the way he was talking about like how he was talking about how the people within the walls are a race of devils and whatnot. That in itself, it already kind of indicates that the secret within the basement is going to reveal what exactly the current state of humanity is, and of course in terms of Reiner himself, like I said, we in terms of Reiner himself, we pretty much just got a lot more. We just got a lot more to seeing just how fractured his mind is. His mind is on an emotional level. I mean, at this point, I don't know. Like, he's probably gained a lot more control of himself at this point. But in the past, we definitely see how fractured he was back then, where he's kind of entered between this point where he was kind of between that point of practically two sides to himself. Like one side of him was his duty to a warrior, and the other side was that he spent so much time like pretty much fighting alongside all these people, to the point where he might have developed like a second him, like someone who genuinely like who pretty much genuinely developed pretty much feel who developed a connection to pretty much everyone within the walls. So like it was almost like a weird, in a lot of ways you could say it was kind of like it was probably something he developed unconsciously, but it was basically his way of trying to become them, and in a weird way he already kind of in his desire to kind of in order to hide who he really was, he ended up becoming pretty much one. He ended up becoming almost one of the devils who he despised almost. Weird to say, but yeah. Another point to point out that kind of supports the theory that supports the theory of the basement revealing like what exactly the current state of humanity is Bertolt's line to Armin about how he pretty much how he doesn't see any of his friends as devils, but they pretty much still have to die. So that also kind of indicates that something is going on out in terms of something is going on outside the walls for sure. And in terms of Bertolt, I really like the development he went through in this episode, because we've basically seen it throughout season 1 and 2, where he's been very indecisive with a lot of his actions, but with this, he's been very indecisive in the past with basically a lot of his actions in previous seasons. But with this episode, we pretty much see him. He basically came into his own as a character, and he gained his resolve. And normally for me when a series kind of rushes when a series like only takes a single episode in order for a character to pretty much change emotionally, these kind of things can definitely feel a little forced. But for me, when it comes to Bertolt's like development and him gaining his resolve, it does work here because his resolve and the conclusion he comes to is essentially the culmination of everything he's experienced up to this point, and it's allowed him to in order to form his own conclusion of what he needs to do now. So yeah, it's one of those things that it definitely works for sure, at least within context of what we've seen of Bertolt up to this point. And yeah, I may as well when it comes to the in terms of Bertolt, I may as well address the big elephant in the room which is the use of CGI in order that was used on the Colossal Titan, and which if any of you ended up have basically seen my finished season 2 reviews on the use of CGI for the Colossal Titan, you'll basically know my thoughts on this. But basically, for me, when it comes to the use of CGI for the Colossal Titan, it's passable. It's not bad, but it's passable. But it is. I can definitely see how it can be distracting for some. Even for me, honestly, there are definitely moments. There are definitely moments where the whole idea of this giant Titan and it being fully being fully rendered with the computer graphics, it is definitely noticeable in places for sure. But and honestly, with this thing as a whole, what kind of baffles me in terms of Wit Studios even using this technology for the Colossal Titan is the method is just how it kind of baffles me how, as of late, the use of computer graphics is the go-to method in order to save on the animation budget, especially now today. Like even shows like even One Piece are using it in order to save on the budget. But it's like, why? Like, aren't there any other alternatives to do that? But I suppose that when it comes to the whole thing of computer graphics, it is a cheaper method. I can't deny that. So yeah, it's with computer graphics. It's one of those very weird tightropes you end up walking with animation. One thing, and getting back to the episode itself. One thing I liked about Armin in this episode is how he addresses the fact that it was in the very beginning. It was in like I think halfway through or very beginning of the episode where how he addresses the fact that even the biotechnical centers, the Perimeter Scouts and the Survey Corps, the Perimeter Survey Corps ended up defeating Reiner. In a weird way, even though they won, they were still kind of lost because they just don't know what exactly that they're pretty much fighting against. And without it isn't. We definitely know for sure it isn't going to stop with just the Beast Titan or the Armor Titan or the Colossal Titan. Like they definitely know now that there obviously is pretty much something or someone out there who are giving these people orders. So because they managed to defeat the Colossal without even getting any information out of him, it's like, yeah, like at this point that if unless they learn like what's going on, then they're just going to keep repeating this cycle over and over again, and it's kind of a dark, grim way to look at that for sure. So. And it is putting the basement in the spotlight. Just how important it is, and also reinforcing why Armin wanted to negotiate with Bertolt to begin with. Like he wanted information out of Bertolt, which is the reason why he did it. And yeah, the only other minor thing we learn in this episode is that crawling Titan with the luggage on its back is intelligent, so it's more than likely another Titan shifter, and And yeah, with that particular reveal, yeah, it again. There's just so many things about this episode that kind of reinforce that everything we've pretty much learned about humanity up to this point, about it going near extinct, might not necessarily be the case anymore. Almost, but yeah, guys. That's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Strict Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Enemy, signing off. Later, guys.